So he actually got up there and got to the moon sooner or later. So
tell us a little bit more about him, and then and also tell us. Eventually, you got up to quite a high rank in the Navy. But yeah, let's hear about your neighbor Pete real quick again.
Oh, about me, about what?
About Pete. Tell us about Pete, and then
Well,
tell us about.
that's about all I know about him,
Yeah.
except that
Yeah.
that he liked motorcycles, and then of course he finally got killed on a motorcycle. Well after he was retired in the Navy. I think probably Pete was probably at least a four striper, maybe admiral. Hell, I don't know. Yeah, those guys all made admiral real fast.
Well, and at that time, what was your rank?
Oh, I was lieutenant commander, which was very good for a little farm boy.
So that's above a warrant officer, right?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah.
So you made warrant
Yeah.
officer.
Yeah, yeah. If I'd been, I probably would have stayed warrant officer. I bet it would have been what they call a non-commissioned warrant officer, and then after a due course of time, then I'd go in commissioned. I'd commissioned warrant officer. And those guys usually held that rank for the rest of their naval career.
So this is kind of the mid-50s or late 50s?
This is what?
What time is this frame? Is this the late 50s or mid 50s?
Let me think now. This is
Sure.
when we come back. Well, it was not terrible. Well, this puts us into the '60s,
Sure.
and
sure.
I was, I retired from the Navy in May of 1960. Am I right on that? Yeah, I think I am. And then but I'd never been to college. And by this time I had 22 years in the Navy. And so I hid my family. We headed for San Jose, California. And I think the only reason we came out is because Helen had a sister living out here too. She lived right here in Concord, and I think we stayed with them for a day or so while I found a house. I bought a house down there in San Jose. Then I went to college, and by this time I was out of the Navy. Period. Yeah. That pretty much wraps up my Navy career, actually. I know I left a lot out, but you also prompted me to jog my memory, things I had totally forgotten about. You can tell I was kind of stumbling around trying to recall some of that stuff.
Can I ask you something before you leave the Navy entirely? Do you remember any of your shellback ceremonies when you crossed the equator?
Yeah, I do, but there was nothing exciting, anything like that. They usually they would take residue from the galley, with cooking food and stuff like that. Here you crawl through that. I can't remember. But this time I was an officer, and I don't think it did much to me, really. You hear really some jazzed up stories about shellback crossings, and I guess originally, when it was not a common occurrence, they did kind of embellish it somewhat, yeah.
How about crossing the date line? Did they do anything special for that?
No. There again, sometimes you go out in the morning, you cross it one time, and you come back to a base, you cross it again. So that just happens to be the meridian where that's 180 degrees around from London. London,
Well, about the Navy, sometimes the longer you're in something like that, maybe almost the less you appreciate it, or maybe the more. How do you feel about the Navy after that many years?
I love it.
I just love it.
I love the Navy, and I've always loved Navy people. And I was blessed to have my son go in the Navy. And he became a.
Fix it for us, I guess.
Yeah, I'll put it over there.
All right, yeah.
And he became a naval aviator. Spike was it? Oh, did I do something?
Well, no big deal. We'll
Oh.
just put this back on.
Oh, yeah, Spike.
Well, we're doing a great job.
Spike became a naval aviator, and so he had a nice career too.
Oh, and then he went on to be an airline pilot. Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's right. But you'll see a picture of him there. Yeah, when he retired from the airlines, there's a picture there, and a message from the captain. But he had a nice career, really did. and then he produced a real nice son. It was just last weekend. I was back. Well, a group of us went back to see him graduate from his first phase of Marine Corps training. Went through kind of what you call the grunt phase, and now he's going into, and he got commissioned. We pinned his bars on him and stuff like that. So now hopefully he'll have a good Marine Corps career. He had both his father and mother are airline pilots throughout all his growing life. He has no wish to become a flyer. I can't believe it. I think it's the most glamorous thing in the world, but he doesn't. So he's a different guy.
Maybe he knows the business side of the long hours and
Yeah.
all the other things that go with a job like that. Sure.
Is it okay if I show you a picture that we took last week, or would that be too far
Please,
specific?
no, please do.
That's
just what we like to see.
I want you to see here. Here he is. Here's my son.
Yeah, hold it up a little bit higher, Merle.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Right
can see
there.
it. You can see it. Yeah.
Oh, you can see it.
Good.
My son, and then there's Eric in the middle, and then this is his real mother. They were married at that time. Things have changed, but anyway, they were both there, and they pinned the bars on them, one on one side, the other side. Yeah.
And where did you guys go back to? Where was that held at?
This was in hard times. Begins with a Q.
Yes,
Something like Quonset. It's not Quonset, but
Quantico.
Quantico.
Thank you. Sure, of course.
See, I have these mental lapses on names. Something that's terrible.
great.
And here he is right in the middle. I've got all three of my grandchildren here. I only have three, and I had them. That's the first time I've ever had them together. It'll probably be the last time. Who knows? They all go their different ways, you know.
Yeah.
Like now, Katie, she's in Boston today, and well, Donald's out. He's working. He's got a job. He goes here and there, and then Eric, he's 6'4", by the way. You can see that there's a group. You can see that he's in the middle. You see that horizontal line there?
Yes.
Well, see that horizontal line goes right through his cap. Well, it also hits Donald, his cousin, right in the top of the head. So they're both about the same height. They're about 6'4",
Oh, yeah.
6'4" each. And look at who's the runt in the family. That's me.
Well.
I'm the runt. All my kids, all my grandchildren are all
Very
10
tall.
shoulders above me. Yeah.
Well, you still look pretty tough, Merle.
That was kind of a nostalgic trip for me to.
That is so wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, speaking of jobs, when you got out of the Navy, did you keep? You went to school. Let's pick it up when you went back to school.
Yeah.
So this was GI Bill paid for your school.
Yeah, it sure did. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay, I got out, and I got, like I say, I retired in '60, and I was in the fall semester, San Jose State. I was signed up down there, and then I went there for the next 3 or 4 years. 4.5 years. It took me to get. I had a tough time. I was in an engineering course. I was 40-some years old, and all my contemporaries were the young guys just out of high school and all the slide rules and things like that. So I had a lot of catching up to do. But I got through, got passing grades, and
Did you get a degree?
I got a degree in industrial engineering.
Wow.
Industrial.
Wow.
And so then I was hired by a company, a big insurance company that insures nothing but big industry, buildings all over the globe. General Motors, IBM, all the world-known companies. We would just insure the buildings and their business interruption capacity, that damage would impact no lives or no cars or anything like that. And so we would strive to make sure we had highly protected property. That meant good water supplies for fighting fire, sprinklers all over the place naturally. And that made a big difference in their premiums that they paid. Yeah. We have sprinklers here too, I'm happy to say. We've never tried them out. I hope we never do, but yeah. So that was worked out very good too. So that's what. So then I worked in the insurance business. I finally wound up as a some kind of a management guy in the marketing end of it. And my office was in San Mateo, but we were living and still living in this house in San Jose that I bought. So I was driving up and down 680 as it was in those days. It wasn't even complete. Just pieces of it was. So they eventually, about that time, I bought a place in Los Altos, cut about 12 miles off my commute, my daily commute. So that's where we lived until we moved here in 1990. Yeah.
Now, do you remember any of the addresses? Just as that happen to come back. If you don't, that's fine. But just what street, any of the street addresses?
And I'll tell you, in San Jose, we lived there for quite a while. It was Hart Drive. I think it was 1712 Hart Drive. When Helen and when I moved into her apartment and kicked her other two girlfriends out, that was 676 Gary Street. Now that really made an impact on my, and it's a hell of a looking place today. You drive by, it looks like a slum zone, but from the outside, they all do along there. But it could be a palace inside. It was pretty nice in those days. And she worked downtown at that time, in the 4th Air Force. She was a